Welcome everyone. My name is Rebecca Arzola, and I'm the Government Information Student Engagement Librarian.
I'm Alison Lehner, Quam, the Education Librarian. In addition to working with the Class C program, I also work with early childhood and childhood faculty and students, and also with middle school and high school faculty and students. And we'll be joined soon by Wright, who's the Health and Human Services Librarian. So her areas of work include nursing, public health, nutrition, social work, many other programs.
And so again, we'd like to just welcome everyone again and thank you for attending this session. We also want to thank the Office of Campus Life for providing this opportunity to talk to you all via Zoom, as well as Suzette Ramsunder and Jonathan Ubi Gomez for helping us along the way through this. So we will be trying to help you figure this out and refine your argument with sources. And I believe that Alison, you're gonna talk a little bit about that.
One of the things that you might encounter when you start thinking about your paper is that you have a topic. And at the library, we're all about the inquiry process. And the topic is really the big picture of what you want to explore. And you may start with an argument in mind, but sometimes you may just have an idea about your topic and you're not quite sure what's out there yet, which is perfectly fine. And then you move into the analysis phase, which is beginning to break your topic down into smaller parts. So for instance, if you're thinking about maybe after you're interested in researching after school programs, and that's kind of where you're at right now, is you just have that big idea about after school programs. In the analysis, you might need to think about, is it a school-based after-school program that you're interested in, or is it a not-for-profit organization, a cultural organization maybe? You might also want to think about the funding of this after-school program. Who funds after-school programs? Who's funding maybe the one in particular you're thinking about? You might want to think about who is served by the after-school program. Are they elementary school students, middle school, or middle school? Are they adolescents or young children? So in that analysis phase, you're just brainstorming to think about different aspects of your topic. And then you move into the question phase, and this kind of overlaps with the analysis, where you begin to ask questions about your topic. What are some of the best practices? Could a after-school program that focuses on homework be effective with student success? How about giving children free time in after-school programs? What is the value of free time in young children? So these questions may also lead back to the analysis. And so it's a little bit of an iterative process where your questions and your brainstorming work together. And then you can go into a seeking answers phase, and today we'll show you some resources that you can go into where you can begin to get answers to your questions. And you're doing search and retrieval as you look for articles. You may get more information in that article, in the literature review of the article, in the bibliography. You may see some of the research questions that were addressed in articles that bring you back to that analysis and make you break down the topic even more. And so I just see that Robin is, I just admitted Robin to the—
Okay, great.
So that, yay! So that process of seeking answers, welcome, Robin.
Thank you.
This is Robin Wright, who's the Health and Human Services Librarian. Just take a moment to say hello.
Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be finally get into the meeting.
Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me. Please, Alison, I don't want to interrupt. Please proceed.
So glad you're here. And so then in that seeking answers, it may lead to more questions, more analysis, and you may cycle through this process multiple times, at which point you begin to see some of the arguments that are coming up about the topic. And also you may get to a stage where you can begin to synthesize that information. The research that you're finding, your own analysis of it, and begin to put together your presentation or maybe your paper. And that kind of brings you back to the topic again, because this process, each time you do a paper, you get better at this inquiry cycle. And so it's something in which there's always a state of growth. And, and I just would want to encourage you that when you start with that topic, again, you can dig your feet in, find a few articles, see what people are saying about the topic, and that can help you begin to find out what the arguments are and begin to give you perspective on how to frame your own argument.
Okay, so Alison went over the inquiry, a little bit about the inquiry process and the cycle and how that's helpful in refining your argument. But before we go deeper into this conversation, we want to get to know you a little bit. So there's a first poll question, and I wonder if Jonathan or Suzette can launch that first poll question. If you can, if not, then we can just have students answer in the chat.
Let me know if I need to stop the share.
Yeah, one moment and I will have that poll out.
Great, thank you so much. So you can see, kind of take a look at the question. Jonathan is doing like 5 things at once. He's trying to listen to this, he's trying to do this, and put the questions in. Thank you so much. So is there anything else, Alison or Rob, we could kind of...
So some of you have input your topics into the chat, which is really nice to see.
Oh, good.
I can just, for Robin, because I think read some through. One is, how does leadership affect organizational morale?
Oh, okay.
What is the role of strategic planning in facilitating effective decision making? Improving our process to avoid failing future audits, and will we require another FTE, full-time equivalent? That must be for a specific type of an organization.
Okay. Wow.
Yes, I have a specific one.
Yeah, thank you.
Something I'm working on.
Excellent. I'm seeing a new message came in. So what is the impact of bias organizational communication on students of color? So as we go into the databases, you might want to kind of keep these, and as you hear about searching strategies, you might want to keep, oh, I see that the poll is available. Is everyone seeing that?
Yes.
We'll give you a minute or so to...
And we actually have 3 questions that you're going to be, or 2 questions that you're responding to. One that has to do with the master's degree program that you're in. And then another one is, which is at the bottom of the poll here. Have you used a library before?
And the following poll has the other 2 questions.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Oh, right. Let's see. We have 6 other. I wonder what we missed. Education. Okay. Other education. Followed by natural and social sciences, and then health sciences, human services, and nursing.
Okay. There's a question about would mostly be considered as up.
Alison, would that be under education or?
It's in the education school.
Okay.
Okay, someone else is saying Mostel's not included. We
Uh,
have,
Uh-oh, okay, we should have included that.
Yeah, it's technically under the umbrella of the School of Education, but yeah.
So we'll
okay.
assume that the education and other, it's going to be a lot of the Mosel students.
Okay.
MSML students. Oh, this is great. And right below it does have the next question. Have you used a library before? Great. So far it's 75%. That's great. Have used it. Okay.
I'm seeing 77% have voted so far.
Oh, great. Great.
So a few more maybe.
Okay.
Oh, the second poll hasn't launched yet.
The have you used a library before is right underneath. Is that the one?
On the poll on the screen now.
Oh, okay.
You're welcome, Michelle.
Scroll down. Okay,
Oh,
great. So other and education, I'm thinking that's going to be,
it's actually the two together, I think.
yes, MSOL. So that's a
Based on
big
the
portion.
presentation, yes.
Like 70, almost 70, yeah, 75%, a little more,
Yeah.
I think. Great. And then, okay, excellent. That helps us out. And that just shows, you know, the attendance here as well. And then, excellent. So this one is, if you have used a library, what kind of library are you most familiar with? And then we break it down into the different ones.
And I think for now we'll ask you to do the first half of this poll, and then I'm hoping we can launch the second half of the poll, launch this poll again later in the presentation. So just for now, respond to the first question, if that's possible.
Yes. That if you have used a library, what kind of library? So if you've used, you know, the New York Public Library, there are a lot of local branches. We also have the research libraries, and many of them are part of the public library, but they're bigger, they're more research, like the Schaumburg Center, Schwartzman Building. It's the one with the lions. Sybil, that's a science, industry, and business library. If you've been there.
We have a question popping.
So you have to finish. You have to do both. Do both then.
Okay.
Onto both.
Okay.
And then the question of if there's more than one, I guess to use the one that is most stands out the most to you, or with your most where you've had most of your experience.
That's interesting feature that it doesn't allow for selection of more than one.
Okay, still need a few more people to vote.
Yeah. And like with the second one, just know that you probably all, you know, work a little bit, a percentage of each piece, but the you know, the main one that you gravitate towards.
I'm sorry, I'm going to mute for a moment because there's a siren in the background here.
Okay. Okay, so many of you have used the public library, that's great, and college library. and research, right?
Ah, good question popped in. Which library is effective for most of the program?
What was the question?
The question was which library is most effective for MOSL?
Ah, that is interesting. I think it depends.
Yes, that's one of those answers, yes.
Yeah,
There's a lot of resources at Lehman that you're going to hear about today that will be really
Yes.
effective for you.
right.
Okay, should we, 86% have voted. Should we close this poll?
I think so.
Sure, yes. Stop sharing. Okay.
It's great to see so much college library experience as well as public library. And also that some of you have done the research library work as well.
Absolutely. So I guess we can go to the next screen or.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So the session overview, guys. Thank you for taking those polls. I'm trying to get this out. We're going to be going over, some of the library services that you guys have available to you. A virtual library tour. We'll discuss some research practices that you can go over, and then a research demonstration and exploration of our databases and search strategies to help you. And then at the end, we'll have a reflection of these items.
Rebecca, I could
I wanted to ask you, I'm sorry, Robin.
I'm sorry, I was just going to ask if we could shift to the slide view. I think it'll enlarge it and make it a little easier for everyone.
Okay.
And we can go from our current slide. There we go. Yes, thank you.
Sure. So as a graduate student, we have a discussion question, which is, as a graduate student, what do you expect from your university library, both in person and virtually? And just take a moment to reflect on that. And then if you could add that into the chat, we'd love to know your expectations of the library. And I'm going to take notes because we want to make sure throughout our presentation that we cover the areas that are of interest to you and make sure that we're meeting your expectations. So easy access to material and staff. Question about books and how to access books while we're working remotely. We'll definitely address that. Guidance on finding information. Supplement resources that you found. This experience of going into the library and doing research, we do too. But need to find a variety of scholarly sources. Help with research paper and help to make research more easier.
They're good answers.
Yeah, yeah. Great, so I think we have quite a bit to work with here. You can also add more, or if you're still in the process of typing, we'll keep an eye on this. But we're now going to move to a tour of the library.
Okay, so right now, if you are new to Lehman, welcome to Lehman. This is the Leonard Leaf Library from afar in a picture. We're hoping to get back soon in there one of these, you know, one of these days, one of these weeks, one of these semesters. But this is what it looks like, and if you can go to the next one. This is the virtual library. This is where we're going to start the demo a little later. And this is where you'll find your books, electronic books, your articles, peer-reviewed articles, journals, where you can access the Ask Us page and get more information on student help, library videos that could help you. This is your starting point for all your research.
And I put the URL for the library in the chat, and I'll continue to put the URLs in the chat so you can copy them if you, so you can easily get back to these sources.
Okay, so this is a sneak peek into the library inside. We just had a renovation, and then, you know, things happened, and, you know, you can't see it, but it's really nice now. And that's Robin Wright, our Health and Human Services librarian. This just kind of shows you not only the library inside, but it also shows you how we answer emails from students and chats that you guys have available to you. Next one. So we do have a 24/7 chat with a librarian, and the virtual chat is staffed by Lehman librarians. That chart there has the hours. So Monday through Thursday, we're available from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then Friday 9 to 5, Saturday, Sunday, 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. And if you log in for the virtual chat before or after these hours, it's going to be manned by other librarians from other colleges, because we're part of a consortium for this 24/7 chat. So when we're, you know, sleeping, because we need some time to sleep too, other librarians will take over. And if they can't answer the question, they send it to us. And that's the link in the bottom. Okay. And so there are a few different ways to contact a librarian. You guys had mentioned that you want, you know, guidance with your assignments or help, you know, assistance from a librarian. These are different ways you can contact us. So the first one is you can email us. You can call us. If someone doesn't pick up the phone, you can leave a message. And also you can make a research consultation appointment, which is really important. And it's very helpful for in-depth research questions. You'll see a list of all our librarians and their specialty, and that can help you with your research. We also have a report a technical problem link, and that's if you can't log into your account. So, you know, to log into your account, you need your CUNY login information. If for some reason you can't log in, you could fill that out, and a librarian is going to help you with that. Also, you can report a technical problem if you're on a database or an article and it doesn't give you access, or it's broken. The next link there is a backup list of our databases as well. Okay, so these are subject librarians. Like you see the first one, Vanessa Arce Senati. Her subjects are languages, French, Spanish, Italian. If you keep on going, these are some more librarians. The next one, you'll see Alison in the middle there. And then you'll see Martha Lursky. She's our business and economics librarian, as well as art. So that's someone that a few of you will be contacting. And if you go to the next one, then we have Robin Wright down there. And so those are the big three, Alison, Martha, and Robin for the departments that you'll have help with.
And we have a shout out in the chat from Michelle, who's saying that the 24/7 chat was how she survived during undergrad and would log in to, at 3 a.m. and get
Oh,
support.
nice.
All right.
So
Awesome.
very happy to hear that you were able to get support through the service.
Thank you. And that's our chief librarian. His specialty is journalism, media, and media studies.
So we're about to go into a discussion about, we're about to go into a demo of the library resources. But before we do that, I wanted to just think a little bit about how do you approach research from an emotional perspective? What is your mindset? What do you already do, and what would you like to develop? And we had in that earlier poll a number of questions, and those included that you consider research as an open-ended exploration, which a number of you said you did, and that you value persistence, adaptability, and flexibility, and recognize that ambiguity, and that's an important thing to kind of remember, kind of living with ambiguity as you cycle through that inquiry process, but that can benefit the research process. And then it may feel a little uncomfortable, but it's part of the process. And that you seek multiple perspectives during information gathering and assessment. Some of you said that you seek appropriate help when needed. No one clicked on maintain an openness. And you know, this is probably one that's very challenging, because thinking of that open mind is being open to many things, but then also looking at things critically. It's kind of like doing two different things at once. And so that's one that you may do. Just you may do approach research from these multiple perspectives, but it's interesting. You might want to, as you go through the process, kind of think about that one. And then this is one of my favorites: recognize the value of browsing and other serendipitous methods of information gathering. And these are just 6 of the dispositions from the Framework for Information Literacy for Higher Education, which is from the Association of College and Research Libraries. And the framework has, I would say, about 30 more of these dispositions, and also about 40 skills that are part of the research process. So that's something that you may want to look at as you begin to think of yourself as a researcher as you're doing research.
Alison, can I add something about this?
Yes.
So I'm looking at B and F. So B is the value, persistence, adaptability, flexibility, and recognizing that ambiguity. And I see it in myself, but I also noticed when I help students, the ambiguous nature can be frustrating when you're researching. Let's say you have an idea in your head and you're like, this is what I'm going to get. I'm going to get 10 articles exactly on this topic. And then you go to search and you find that there's nothing really exactly on your topic. You'll have to kind of change and be flexible on that. And it's very frustrating for students, and I totally understand. So you kind of have to be ambiguous and try to accept F, that serendipitous kind of thing, as you put in search terms. And we'll see, you'll see how, we're working with when we're working with the articles, these are people that have created articles and created titles, research, and they're all different, and they may not be the research that you have in your head. So you'll have to, that's why you need to find different articles, different things to support what you want to say, because not everything is going to be in one article. You might have to have different places to search in.
Multiple articles, multiple perspectives. And then that's also where maintaining an open mind and a critical stance comes in.
Yes.
Because that open mind, as you're looking at what you're finding and in the process of discovery, may take you in a slightly different direction. It may adapt you may need to adapt your topic in a little bit based on what you're finding. Sorry, there we go.
There we go. All right, so let's start off talking about how do you access these wonderful resources. So off-campus access, which all of us are off campus now, so not just at 3 a.m. with the chat, but for all our resources, you'll be accessing from off campus. But over the summer, we made a change in how we did that. So anyone who's had any access experience prior to August of this year was using the Lehman barcode. Library barcode on the front of that Lehman ID card, 14-digit number. At one point, we used to ask you to come in to have the number validated. Then we began updating with a computer program. And now we totally shift gears this summer. So across CUNY, everyone is now using their CUNY login credentials to access the library. So that's the same login credential you're using for your CUNY First to register for your classes. It's also the same login you're using for Blackboard to get into your course information. So we are now using that for whether it's our databases, our journals, our ebooks, all using that credential. So actually makes life hopefully a little easier, one less ID to track down. And the CUNY login credentials are your username, which is your first name dot your last name, followed by 2 digits or numbers, which are the last 2 digits of your EMPL ID at login.cuny.edu. So we'll actually see here, you see a screen on the left. We titled it the first prompt. Whenever you try and open any e-resource, it'll open this off-campus access at Lehman College screen. So formerly we had a screen with a lovely Lehman ID card with one of our Lehman staffers who was gracious enough to allow us to use him as our sample. And we circled the barcode and said, these are the numbers you need. Of course, not his numbers. We gave him the 1 through 0 range, but now this is the screen you'll see, and you'll see, are you student, faculty, staff, and the box is open. So you just click that link that says, please log in with your CUNY login credentials. That will move you to a second screen, what we've titled the second prompt, which is the web applications login. You'll enter your username, first dot last, your 2 digits from the EMPL ID at login.cuny.edu, your password, click login, and then press login, and then you'll open the resource that you first initially clicked on. So we're going to talk about some resources to help you with your research and to point you in the right direction, because you don't always know where to start. So for that purpose, the librarians have prepared what we call research guides, and these are online tools created specifically for your various subject areas to help you find resources such as books, journals, newspapers, scholarly articles which are in journals, and databases which will help you find scholarly articles. We can start on the library website, and we're actually going to do that. And you can also go through your Blackboard. So we're going to show you the 2 ways that you'll be able to access these guides. So moving to our next slide. Here we have a slide of a couple of different images here. On the left, you will see the toolbar from Blackboard. And at the very bottom, a little small on the slide, but of course, when you're in Blackboard, it'll be a little larger and easier to see. You'll see library resources at the bottom of that toolbar. When you open that, you will go to research guides that have been embedded in your class. Here we see on the right, the research guide for the middle and high school education, science education program. And you see a lovely photo of Alison, and she's also on the homepage of her guide, giving you information about how to access. So for the guide itself, you do not need to log into anything. These live on the internet. They have, as well as accessing directly through your Blackboard site, you can access through the library. You can even access if we were to send you a direct URL to the guide. So no sign-in required yet, but when you begin to open resources, then you'll be prompted to do your CUNY login credential, provide that information. So let's talk about databases. What are they? In a nutshell, they are online search interfaces or tools that have access to academic, scholarly, peer-reviewed journal articles. They can also access ebooks, book chapters or reviews, newspapers, reference entries, government docs, and information. They provide limits where you can control what you retrieve, whether that control is limiting the years articles or resources were published in, language published in, and particularly for journals, type of journals. So if you specifically have a requirement for articles found in peer-reviewed journals, and these are journals that have a process, a review process by people in the field that they employ when selecting and editing, if you will, articles that they will publish. So you have reviewers in the field who provide feedback to an editor, who in turn provides it to an author. So if your professor says, I want articles published in peer-reviewed journals, most of these databases will have a checkbox where you can check that and exclude journals that don't use that process in their publication. Also, these databases provide advanced searching options. So you can group your search terms together, separating out from initial questions and topics, because for these databases, we do not enter entire sentences or entire questions. We separate and identify the most descriptive terms. We call those keywords. We can separate them out. We can group like terms together. And we have commands called Boolean operators or commands that will instruct these tools how to combine your terms. So on that note, we're actually going to enter into a database, and I think this will give me the option. No, I'm not able to share yet. Alison, can you allow me to share?
Let's see, I stopped sharing. Let me see if I can do that.
All right, let's see. Let's try it again.
I think we'll need the host. You're the, yes, you're the co-host now.
Okay, all right, so here we go. So I am going to open up, well, when Zoom decides to, there we go. So I have a number of screens opened. We're gonna open them together, but for ease of, I've just pre-opened them on my screen. But here we are at the library homepage. And you'll see in the browser bar that we're at lehman.edu/library. Alison shared that URL, that link in the chat box. This is the library homepage. Now, when we open the homepage, once you'll notice 5 tabs. One is blue, 5, the other 4 are black. The tab that is light blue is the active tab. So the page opens so that one search is the active tab. But we can move that and change, and you'll notice the search box instructions will change with it. So I'm going to, do we want to talk? Well, I think we've covered the Ask Us, so we don't need to actually open that. But the information we shared in the slide, I'll just quickly click on to show you. As far as the information we already shared about the chat service, email, calling us, and making an appointment with the librarian, all of this is available also on the library homepage through the Ask Us icon. So let me go back to the home bar. All right, so I'm going to shift gears to research guides. And these are the guides developed for your different subject specialties. Most of you are MOSL, organizational leadership, but we love acronyms, don't we? And you'll be able to access your guide through here. Now, when I click on research guides, the instructions above the box change. It said search for guides to resources on your research topic. So even though you're MOSL, some of your topics may cross different areas. So you could also come here and look for guides for those topics. You can search for a guide by entering it in the search box, or you'll notice the link right below that says browse research guides by subject. I'm going to click that link and open the page. This is the research guides as you would homepage. And as I scroll down, you're going to see there's a 2-column listing with all of the subjects that have guides. On the right-hand side, we've got various links pointing you to databases, and we've also got some photos of your friendly librarians. So your subject librarians are there. So if you scroll down alphabetically, 2-column listing, you'll see business and economics. So even though you may not be a business student, you might want to go in here and open their guides and access their resources, because the business librarian, Martha, has pulled resources to the guides that'll be most helpful for searching business questions. We see sciences, chemistry, we see education. We're going to come back to that one. We see French, health sciences, got to give a plug for my areas down there. Across on the right-hand side, we see sociology, social work, speech, language, hearing, nursing. So I have to give a plug for some of the other departments as well. But we are going to go back to education because organizational leadership is a department within the School of Education. So we're going to open education. And some of you may be wondering, well, what are these black circles with numbers? That's giving you a count for how many guides are within that subject area. So we're going to open education. You'll see an alphabetical listing again. So you'll see things like early childhood. Earlier was childhood education. Some specific guides such as children's books. As we continue down the list, we will find organizational leadership. We'll click on that link. And now we are open to the organizational guide. On the left-hand side are tabs, and these tabs represent pages within the guides and the resources contained on those pages. On the right, there's a nice brief welcome. Again, a reminder about off-campus access, how to. On the left, a photo of your librarian, Alison. And if you mouse over the email, you'll see her email address. So there's always a way to reach out. And you'll see the various pages that direct you to information for background information in subject areas, finding books and ebooks, finding journals and articles. So we're going to click on the Find Journals and Articles page. And you'll notice that these are a nice rich navy blue, but when you click on a page, its activity, if you will, is indicated by changing to green. So before on the library's homepage, we were black if we were inactive, light blue active. Here we're navy inactive, green active. So when I clicked on the Find Journals and Articles tab, on the right-hand side, you'll notice that suddenly boxed resources appeared. And these are links to databases, tools that we can search for journal articles, ebooks. We can use those databases to do it. So Alison has grouped these into different categories because organizational leadership, you guys are crossing many disciplines. So the first box is for general databases, and we have links to Academic Search Complete. We've included Google Scholar, which is not a paid resource, but it is one that you would use. And the nice thing is if you access it through this guide, Google Scholar will look to see if you find an item, a journal article you're interested in, it'll look to see whether or not Lehman has a subscription to that journal. You'll see categories: business and management databases, current issues, education, government and statistics, health, social services, news, funder and grants research. Many of you will be looking for grant funding for various programs, and a focus on a new database. And the very last box talks about some mobile apps. So if you want to access from your phone or your tablet, you'd want to take a look at that. On the left, below the tabs, you'll see we have a video embedded on academic journals, scholarly journals, articles, and it discusses that issue, how to distinguish between academic journals and popular press, if you will. Scholarly articles, databases. So it's a brief video done by a former colleague of ours, very less than 3 minutes, worth the time invested. So I'm gonna scroll up, and now thank you for sharing your questions earlier. I was trying to write like mad, and I need to learn shorthand. So I wasn't able to get them down that well, but we came in with a simplified research question to use for our demo today. So for today's question, I'm going to look at, if we're going to theorize that I was looking for writing a proposal for grants, but I'm looking at grants and funding and after school programs. So I'm writing a proposal for my after school program, and I want some research articles to use to support or to even help me further develop my program. So I would look at this list and say, well, where am I going? And I would probably start with the education source database, because I know it's an after school program. We're tied into education. So it's a good starting point. So I'm going to click on the link. As I mouse over it, it gives me a brief description about the database. And I'm going to right-click the link. You can just directly click, but I don't want to close my guide. So to keep the guide open, I'm opening it up in another tab. And then I'm looking for it. And you'll see here that I'm at that prompt we showed you in our slide. I'm at the off-campus access at Lehner College, because now I've tried to open a database, which is a subscription resource, something that we're paying for access. The guides live on the web. Anyone can and does browse these guides. I'm constantly getting email from organizations that say, saw your guide, like to have you feature my organization on your guide. So we live out in the web. But as far as subscription resources, we want to make sure that you're part of the Lehner family and entitled to access that. So as soon as I clicked education source, it was like, okay, let's identify who are you. It's open to student, faculty, staff. This is great. I'm a student if I'm one of you. As a librarian, I'm coming in as faculty. So it says current students and staff, as well as current and retired faculty. Please log in, and you'll notice the login is a hyperlink, and I'm gonna click that link. So it advises me to log in with my CUNY login credential. So when I click on the link, it opens to that web applications login that we showed you in our slide. Mine is already pre-filled because I'm always madly saving usernames and passwords for speed of life. If it were not filled in, I would type it in. So it's my first name dot my last name, last 2 digits of my EMPL ID at login.cuny.edu. My password I've entered, click login, and now my resource should open up. Voila, I'm in education source. This is a database that is offered and provided by the company EBSCO. So you see their name on the left. EBSCO Host is the name of their search platform. This company actually provides many of the resources that we have featured on the guide. Not all, but many. And the really nice and advantage of that is that we can actually search more than one at a time. So Here it indicates that we're searching education source. And it allows us through the link to the right, choose databases, to add databases to the search. Now I point out also that EBSCO, this search interface looks the same no matter which of their databases you're using. So you want to be mindful where you're searching, particularly if you reach out to a librarian for help. And we've all encountered this where we have a student say, I can't find anything, hands thrown up in the air. And you go, okay, let's see what we can do about that. Where were you searching? EBSCO. EBSCO where? EBSCO. And you go, but we're in EBSCO. This is how you know we're in EBSCO. Because as you're gonna see when I open the Choose Databases link, wow, there's a lot through EBSCO. And this isn't even everything they offer. This is just what Lehner is subscribing to. Oh, to have unlimited resources would be a lovely thing, but we don't. But this is what we do. So this is why we ask, because you might have searched one and we'll go, well, actually, there's another database that might shed some light and offer some resources. So if you can say, oh, I search education source, and maybe your topic also encompasses the area of psychology, we might say, well, you know, they also have 2 psychology databases that we might want to add to this search. So just to point that out, it also gives you the option to select all. I highly, highly discourage that. It gets too confusing because these databases all have different options to limit the search. So if you're searching across all of them, it's really a little like pandemonium. But if you want to search 3, 4, 5, that's a good and manageable number where you can control your limits.
Robin,
Yes.
a question has come in, where could we get unlimited resources?
Unlimited resources, where could we? It's an excellent question, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't think anyone has unlimited resources, unless maybe you're related to Warren Buffett, or let's see, who else? You know, I'm think of any of the billionaires and multi-billionaires. That's the only way to get unlimited resources. If the question is pointing in a direction of how could we search unlimited at one time, I'm going to say that that's a wonderful thought and dream, but does not exist. Even our tool on the library homepage called OneSearch, which implies that it's searching all of our databases, is a real misnomer because it's actually its own database. And it will contain content that might be included in other databases we have, but unlike its name, it is not actually searching all. We have 200 different databases. They're provided by a variety of companies. All of these companies are not friends. I know in kindergarten we learn how to be friends and get along with everyone, but from a business perspective, they're not all following that idea. So we have quite a number of resources. I'd say we have a wealth of resources to actually help you answer your research questions and meet those needs. But as far as having access to everything, it's a wonderful dream, but I don't think it's really a reality. But what we have will suffice. And if not, we can always point you to other tools. Yes, Al?
I just thought maybe Interlibrary Loan provides a service.
Yes, and we're going to look at that. These databases will point you to a variety of journals. In the unlimited resource question, we do not have a subscription to every journal in the world, and no one does. Deepest Pockets, no one does, and also just the connecting of it. But if you find a journal that we actually don't have a subscription to, all is not lost. We have Interlibrary Loan, which is a consortium, a network of libraries who agree to share with one another. So we will share with them journals that we have access to, they may not, and they will do the same for us. For students, it's a free service. You'll simply need to set up an account, submit a request, and a library will respond to the request provide the PDF of the article, notify you that they've provided it, and you will go into the account you've set up and be able to access the full text for the article. So it's a wonderful, and libraries have always been in the business of sharing and networking, which is very helpful for everyone. So let's get going with our search. I'm going to add maybe 2 databases to this. So we came in through Education Source, which you can see is checked off, and that's how you know what did I come in through. I'm going to add Academic Search Complete, and I'm going to add Business Source because I'm interested in grant funding, and business databases look at those types of questions. And I'm going to click OK, and adding you simply, so all I did was move to the left, check the box. If I'm not sure what a database includes, if I move to the right, mouse over the yellow icon, you will see a description of what that database contains. There's an OK button at the top and the bottom because the screen is rather lengthy, and it doesn't matter which one I select. So now I'm back on the home screen next to Education Source, which was very close to Choose Databases. You now see a link that says Show All. And if you click that link, it will display and show that I've added 2 other databases to the search. So I'm gonna enter my terms. So I said that I was looking for grants. Now you noticed as soon as I started typing, a drop box opened showing search terms. Databases collect input. So when someone types in a search, they collect it and reflect it back to you in the Dropbox. These can give you ideas for keywords to add to your search, but they're not gold. You can click on them. I tend not to because I may select some of their words and add to them, but I'm also mindful of when typed in, they may or may not be employing better search strategies. So I'll just phrase it that way. So my search is grants or funding, but rather than click on that one, I'm going to add funding with a capital OR. And the reason I'm doing that is something that I'm going to just toss out very quickly, called Boolean operators. And this is the slide referred to the tools within the database that allow you to control how your search is interpreted and researched within the database. There are 3 connectors, and or not, and very briefly, they give different instructions to the search engines that are like the foundation of the database in how to interpret the search. Grants and funding are interchangeable synonymous words, and the OR tells the database, go look for articles. Well, I'm going to tell it later that I'm looking specifically for articles, but whatever results I find, either term will be sufficient because I'm saying they're interchangeable. So I don't want to miss an article that talks about grants but calls them funding. I don't want to miss an article that talks about funding but calls them grants. I'm saying that the 2 are the same. And I'm going to look at my after school program. Now we do see that that is opening up in the Dropbox, but you'll notice nobody has quotes, which I have employed. And the quotes are to keep my terms grouped together, to make sure that within the results I find that they are employed together. So it's not after somewhere in the article, school somewhere else, program somewhere else. So I'm specifically looking at after school program. I'm going to scroll down just so that you can see limits. The first box talks about how we're searching, and we are searching in what's called the Boolean, and that's evidenced by on the left-hand side, the capital and, capital or, capital not. They're capitalized to indicate commands, though EBSCO will take it even if it's lowercase, but that's sort of like, we would call it bad syntax. If you were thinking in language terms, you'd say bad grammar. We want the engine to know that it's command. And while some companies like EBSCO will take it in lowercase, others like PubMed will ignore it. And they even have tables built in to say skip it because and or not lowercase are so common that you don't want to blow up your database when you're searching. So the command is lowercase skip it. So capitalize means pay attention. All right, below that we see limits. So if you had a limit, a requirement to limit to articles published in peer-reviewed, scholarly peer-reviewed journals, you check the box. You could also maybe run a search, and if you don't have the limit, but you retrieve a huge amount of results, come back and check the box. On the right-hand side, you'll see publication dates, where you can enter a starting year and an ending year. If you have a 5-year range, 10-year range for the assignment, you enter that starting year, ending year. They also provide the opportunity for months, and you'll see the January, December, but if you don't select months, it's pre-programmed to start the first day of the first month to end the last day of the last month. You have languages where you can scroll down, or if you click on all and type the first letter of the language you're interested in, I type E and pop to English as the first language that popped up starting with an E. Now, because we're searching more than one, we're searching 3 databases at the same time, there will be more than one limit box. So as I scroll down, I see the education source has a limit. I could select academic journals or other types of publications here. Third box, the first one was an overall box, I should say. Then we're going into the specifics. So business source complete also gives me the opportunity at type of publication. There's the other fields if you're looking at company information, industry code information. So now I'm going to click on search. So we're looking for grants or funding and after-school programs. We have 440 items. On the left, we see our search and we see our limits. So we see the only limit applied right now is the language, English. As we scroll down, we see that we could limit right here, if we hadn't already done so, to scholarly peer-reviewed. We could limit to full text, and what that would do is limit us to full text articles whose subscription is paid for in the databases we're searching, which is a little quirky. I say quirky because we have 200 databases and we pay for our journals across different databases. So I tend to steer away from the full text, but there is a time and place for it. If I quickly need a couple of articles, it's a good tool to use. If I'm doing a little deeper dive, then I don't want to use it because I might find it linked in another database, or I might find that I want to, it's an article that I want and I can apply for it through interlibrary loan. So be mindful of that, because if you do limit to full text within the databases you're searching, it will exclude results for items that are not full text within that grouping. So you might have a marvelous resource out there, but it's excluded from your results because you asked for full text. So we'll show you how to find the full text. Here we see the date range. These articles were published between 1988 and 2020. You can adjust that with the slide bar, or you can click on show more and actually type in the starting and ending years. I'm mindful of time. Let's see. Here you can see the source types. So in addition to academic journals, we have some articles that are tied into news sources, trade publications, magazines. And if I click on show more, there actually aren't, but there might possibly be other source types reflected. So I'm going to just quickly point out a couple of things. One, on the right, ask a librarian, the chat is here. So if you need help, you can click on the link and open a session and actually start a session where you can chat now. I'm gonna say no thanks. All right. So quick review of this page. just some quickie mechanics about the page itself. It displays 10 results on a page. You can drop that to 5 or increase it to 50, which is the max within this database. You can elect to apply limits and see a few most popular ones here, or click on show more and apply other limits. So I'm going to throw on scholarly peer reviewed just to make that full 40 a little more manageable. So that dropped it down to 115. They're sorted by relevance, which is a formula that EBSCO has created. You have the choice to adjust the sort to date newest, which will be most recent, going back to older items. Date oldest, which would move oldest up front and more current to the back. You can sort by source, which are journals, by author. We're currently using relevance, and I'll let that stick. Currently, just to show you how to get full text, this one you see PDF full text, so pretty apparent how to do that. Some you may see find it at CUNY, and we'll show you how to do that. Now these are brief views. A couple of things that we can do here. We see the title of the article, the journal it's published in, the year, volume, issue, pages, and even the database that we found this through. We see subject terms. Many of these databases have their own subject dictionary of terms. Some call them thesauri. This is helpful to find terms to add to our keyword searching. If we click on the link, we're able to see an abstract and more detail. Well, this particular one doesn't. It has a very brief abstract. Some might be up to a couple hundred words, where it gives us a little more information about the article, which will help us determine whether or not this is an article we'd like to use for our search. On the left, the detail record, we'll see PDF if that's available. It could either be PDF full text, link to PDF, or find it at CUNY. On the right are tools. We can create a temporary folder, add to folder, and that has now created a folder on the home screen that we can collect items there and then go from there to email, to print, even to gather citation information. Within the individual item, we can see the citation. And they'll display the 7 rates citation styles they provide. If you're in Mosul, you're most likely using APA. And you'll see indicated, and this you can copy and paste. Now I'm going to go back to the home screen and we'll take a look at the Find It at CUNY, and then we'll look at the folder, and then I'll turn it back to my colleagues. So here we have the 4th item from this Journal of Education Finance. We see information about government aid, funding, etc. And we see a Find It at CUNY box. We also can get it from the detail record, which gave us a little abstract with a little more information about what's covered in the article. So when we click on Find It at CUNY, and we've had, for those of you who've done this before, changes have occurred. Over the summer, we did lots of updates and changes on what you would see. In the past, you would open to a box with links pointing to you to where the full text was available. That tool, which was SFX, is actually being phased out. So now it'll take you into OneSearch, and here we see the name of the journal, Journal of Education and Finance, the information for our article, and we see a link that says available online. We also see linked below databases that provide access to that journal for the time periods. So if we click on the available online, it points us down, and we can choose which database that we want to. And we want to look at the time frame of the journal in light of our article. So this article was published in 2019, very current. And we'll notice that most of these say the most recent 1 year not available. And what that means is that the subscriptions we've arranged with these publishers does not give us full text access to the current year. So we are in, and it's a 1 year range. So that was winter of 19, and we're sort of coming into winter 20. So that 1 year is going to be blocked to us. So in that case, we would go back to our guide and we would explore interlibrary loans, set up accounts if we hadn't already done so, and request the article. Sometimes, and we don't have enough time for me to go and find a result that we would have the link, but the link would open right up to the database and you would be given access to the PDF to download. So I'm going to stop there.
Robin, can I jump in for a second? While you're open to the internet, there was a question about how to access books. Okay. And I wondered from the library homepage if you could just highlight that ebook.
I'm like, do I still have the library homepage open? Probably not. So I'm going a quickie. Okay, library homepage. And someone had a question about finding books. We would do that in one search, which I'm not mistaken, Alison, I'm sure you have it on your books page as well in the guide.
Yes, absolutely.
So in the guide, going back to the homepage here, you would see find books and ebooks. This is the same one search tool that's also available on the library homepage. You're going to use it the same way in both places. Sorry about that, too many tabs. Sorry, guys. And here you would enter, if you had a textbook for a course and you wanted to see whether or not the library had it, the most efficient way, and this actually works for articles too, where you have a citation, would be to type the last name of an author and then to type, sorry guys, not your field, but I've been doing some work with recreational therapy this week, so their text is in my mind. Diane Blankenship wrote a text that they're using in the course. So I put in the last name of the author. I don't need first name. I don't need initials. If there are multiple authors, I only need one author's last name. And then I'm going to apply in quotation, when we talked about keeping phrases grouped together, I'm going to enter some of the words. Now you see applied research methods down there. That's actually not correct. And then I'm going to search it. I learned after I did applied research methods that, this is the book, the second result, applied research and evaluation methods. I found out when I did applied research methods, I got 0 because I kept those 3 words grouped tightly together. And you'll see that and evaluation is between research and methods. So search engines, being the literal tools that they are, said I had 0 results. When I took methods out, then it was like, oh, applied research. Being a typical database, it indicates your search terms, in this case, underlined in yellow, author, last name, title. When I click on the title, I'll see, well, I saw that I had the book available, and now I'll see how I have it available. So in this case, this is the book that's on reserve in the library. This is the call number. Unfortunately, we do not have it available as an ebook, because if we did have it here on the screen, when I first opened it up, you would see another link saying available online that I could click and get it as an ebook. So hopefully that answered that question. Let me close that. All right, so I'm gonna close this out. And any other questions, Alison, before I turn it back to you?
No, I think that's, but maybe leave it on the screen for a moment in case there are additional questions that anyone wanted to ask. And maybe I'll go back then to, yeah, if you stop sharing, I'll then.
Yes, I was going to stop sharing so you can have it back. Okay.
So we wanted to talk, just kind of revisit ways to deepen your research. So I just wanted to highlight that it's an iterative process. Thinking back to that inquiry wheel, allow yourself plenty of times plenty of time for discovery and to go through the process. And you want to mind the references that you find in the articles, because they can also help you find other resources as well that might be both books or articles. And as Robin said, you want to look at the subject headings because they help you find more keywords that you can use with your search.
Right, and then after you get that, once you get the articles, you'll want to proof your citations. And the citation in an article includes the title, the author, the publisher, or the publication, the journal that it was published in, the article title, pages, volume number, all that information. And you want to make sure that you prove it with the appropriate style guide. So if it's APA or MLA or ASA, make sure that you check it with that particular style. And then finally, to sign up for Iliad, I think Robin had touched on that as well. That's our interlibrary loan, or ILL, where you can get access to articles that we don't have. So there might be articles that you search for on one search, and you'll see it says, it gives a find it link or something, and it may say it's just not available electronically at Lehman College. If you create an ILL account, that link below is there, and you can create an account and then request an article from another college, and that's included, that's free, and that's very helpful for.
And I've included that link to that sort of step-by-step page in the chat so you can follow that through. It's very clear steps as to how to create your interlibrary loan account. And then kind of visiting back to our reflection, I noticed that you wanted to know if there would be easy access to material and staff. And while we're working remotely, again, there's that 24/7 chat. And through the research guides, you have access to books and ebooks, to journals, articles, and to research databases, and also websites that you can use for research. Guidance on finding information, use the chat, ask us, we're here to help you. We've added our emails to the chat, but really think of us as your librarian, your personal reference desk as a way. We do want to help you. And then also there's that chat service for non-work hours if you have questions outside of the workday. We talked about scholarly peer-reviewed sources. I think ways that you could supplement resources that you found. Help to make the research easier. We really are here to help you through the process, so please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And we want to know what questions you have.
Yeah, what questions you have. I mean, we went through, a lot of information on refining your argument with sources. You have to start with an idea. You have to go through the inquiry process and that cycle where you think of a topic, you analyze that topic, you ask questions about your topic. You have to try to seek the answer in our sources. Then you have to synthesize all that information before you write it or present it. And we went through showing you what the library provides in terms of access to those articles. For your discipline, we have research guides, the 24/7 chat, contact a librarian, and how you approach research. You have to constantly, question that and think about that and deepening your research. So, you guys have put in some information like what questions you have, but is there anything else that you'd like to know?
Rebecca, Alison, Robin, this was really, really helpful. Thank you so much. What we will do is would it be okay for you to, I think Jonna has a question in there. Would it be okay for you to send us the slides so this way we can send it to the group? I know we have the recording, but and you also were so kind, all of you, to give us your email addresses. So we'll also share that again with everyone. And then I don't want to take up too long because our next session is supposed to start at 2:45. So
Sorry, Suzanne, didn't mean to run over.
it's okay. And that's the last session. So maybe we just answer briefly and then they can follow up with you specifically. That might make some sense later on.
We can offer a quick response to Nikki's question. Would you say that a large portion of the kinds of things we're looking for will be found electronically? And yes, especially if you're looking through peer-reviewed journals, you'll be able to find them for sure. That's how the research is done, whether we're in person. The majority of research is done using these databases. So whether we're in person or remote, you'll be able to access those.
I also see there's another question about, do you recommend starting the research process by scheduling a personal consultation appointment? And if an appointment is good, at what points in the process? As we all smile and go,
Good question.
Good question.
It depends on, I would encourage people to start with the inquiry process that Alison walked you through, so that you don't just walk in and go, hi, I have to do a paper, sit down and say, well, sit down being figurative language, open your Zoom session and say, hi, I have a paper to do, sigh. Because then we're going to ask you, well, what's your topic? What are you interested in? What are the parameters of the assignment? So if you can start doing that, start thinking about your terms, start maybe going through the cycle, maybe even start doing some preliminary research. When you get to us, I think you'll find that your time is better spent. Because you want to value, time is of the essence. We don't want you to be treading water for hours, but at least do some foundational work so that when you get to us, I think then you can better utilize us as a resource. What did Alison and Rebecca, you want to add to that?
Yeah, like right after they do that, if you think of, terms, what you want to do, then you can always schedule a consultation. If you want to go through, go through how to get an article in the database, we can walk you through that on Zoom by sharing our screen. So that's definitely something that you could do. I think you'll know, you could do it in the beginning, but you could maybe do it a little later, after you have an idea of what you want, and then we can help you with that idea.
And we can meet with you through Zoom or email or phone. We have a range of ways of communicating depending upon your question. One form of communication might be better than another.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you.